sound mind. And it's your boy Icon. We back with some DC TV. I did not realize it was the 25th already. So that means The Flash is coming tomorrow. And we going to be here for The Flash because it's the return of Oliver Queen. But we're going over some Superman and Lois. And I'm very upset because I'm watching Superman and Lois. And they had the scene, they had the episode where Lois was talking to the light-skinned woman, you know, who has cancer. And then they had agreed, because Clark went to couples counseling, but it's for the couples that are with people who have cancer. So, you know, just like, you know, a group where they can talk about how to deal with it and how to get support on how to help their significant other get through the cancer situation. When they were in that group, people were basically, there were a few people that were talking about how they lost loved ones, like certain people died. The person who was in charge of the session, she even said that her husband had colon cancer, and she saw her husband fighting and fighting and fighting, but then she realized her husband was only fighting, you know, because of her. And then she told him, she said, if you're really in pain, it's okay if you know, if you can let go. Clark freaked out about that because in his mind, he's like, there's no way in hell he would ever say that to his wife, and he'll never quit and he'll never let go. So he decided to leave group and, you know, go on about his business. The light-skinned woman saw that look on his face when he came from the group. And then she told Lois, she was just like, oh, let's have a conversation. Let's you and me meet up for dinner and then let's talk. Now, when the two of them went down to go talk, they went to the south side, you know, like to where Bruno Mannheim's neighborhood is. And then there was a restaurant there. They're eating in the restaurant. And while they're eating in the restaurant, Lois said she didn't realize that downtown Metropolis had a restaurant. And then that's when the woman, she went on and she was just like, yeah, she said Bruno Mannheim did wonderful things for the community. And then she started talking him up. She like legitimately started talking Bruno Mannheim up. And then I was just like, you know, why is she, you know, going that hard to come to the aid of Bruno Mannheim? Because when Lois said she was investigating him because he could be doing some illegal things at the hospital, that's when she was just like, yeah, but the hospital saved lives and it did this for people and did that for people. Bruno Mannheim saved the neighborhood, like he rebuilt the community. And I was just like, well, damn, like she's really going all in on like, you know, putting some respect on Bruno Mannheim's name. And it was like, I didn't really understand that. And then later on, Lois was having a conversation with Clark, and then they were talking about the whole thing with Bruno Mannheim and the doctor and how he was experimenting on specific people who were dying of specific illnesses. One person particularly ended up dying. He was the guy that they had locked up in the DOE, and he started screaming because he was in pain. Superman showed up and he was like, take me to Bruno Mannheim. Superman took him to Bruno Mannheim, and then he told Bruno, he was like, I need you to save me, but I didn't tell Superman anything. And then Bruno was like, if you don't get your ass about my office, like go to the hospital. He's like, I can't save you. And then Superman like took him to the hospital, then the guy died. So now because of that, they were saying, like Lois and Clark were having a conversation how all the people that Bruno Mannheim gave superpowers to are people who were specifically dying of a specific illness. And that's when Lois said, she was like, maybe he's just not trying to give people powers. Maybe he's trying to save specific types of people. And then that's when it hit me, because I was just like, because first of all, he did the whole thing where he gave us the sob story about his mom, about how his mom died of a disease in the South Side and how he rose to glory. That's all fine and dandy, but everybody's right. He's going really hard at trying to find a cure for whatever diseases are out there. And even I thought, I was just like, okay, he's really like going really, really hard at this. And then when the woman at the restaurant was just like, oh, but Bruno, and then when she came to his defense, that's when it dawned on me. I was like, holy shit, all the stuff that Bruno Mannheim's doing, it ain't about his mama, because his mom already passed away. For Bruno to continue after his mother's passing to go this hard to try to find a cure, I said, oh, the only person on this planet that tries this hard to cure a disease is someone who's fighting for a person who's still here. And then that's when it hit me, the light-skinned woman's his damn wife. And I was so upset because I wanted to put that on the review. I wanted to have it out there so I could be the first one to call that the light-skinned woman was his wife. But since they did the reveal at the end of the episode, I didn't have enough time to put it out there. But halfway through the episode, when her and Lois was at that restaurant, that's when it hit me. I was like, that's his damn wife. But my theory about Homeboy, the other kid, like the kid that Natalie dated, but like my whole theory about that being their son, I'm still holding on to that. One thing they did take me for a loop, and I was shocked by this, like that weird supersonic figure that, you know, killed John Henry Irons. That's actually the light-skinned woman, Bruno Mannheim's wife. So this is crazy. This is actually very good. This is why I love me some Superman and Lois. But anyway, skip it ahead. So now basically what's happened is they're trying to investigate and they're trying to see if they can take down Bruno Mannheim. Meanwhile, Lois is forming a bond with Bruno Mannheim's wife. Then throughout the episode, Lois is actually taking out like life insurance policies and coming up with the will and everything for the kids. She tries to get Clark on board, and Clark starts freaking out because he's like, no, we don't need that stuff because you're going to pull through and you're going to be fine. And Clark forgets that, yes, he's Superman and he doesn't get sick. He doesn't fall to diseases, and the only thing that can defeat him is kryptonite. But he forgets that every single person on the planet besides him and maybe Supergirl is vulnerable, and everybody else can die. So he's just like super optimistic that he's like, Lois is going to beat this no matter what. But she's just like, bro, it's cancer. She's like, yes, I'm going to fight. I'm going to continue to fight and I'm going to pull through, but it's still cancer. We have no control over it. So just in case it doesn't, we should still do something to be prepared. But Clark wasn't trying to hear it the same way how he wasn't trying to hear it when he was in the group session, and then he walked away. He ends up going to help Jordan, with his training, because Jordan's still trying to train to become a superhero. During the training, he was trying to prepare him, for like the worst possible scenario, because Clark is basically feeling vulnerable for the first time ever. Superman feels vulnerable because there's nothing he can do to save Lois Lane. So because there's nothing he can do to protect Lois and save Lois from the cancer, he's overprotecting Jordan regarding the training. And he's giving Jordan like test after test, and he's cranking up the training sessions. He's cranking those up to like 1 million. And then Jordan finally got upset, and then he was just like, oh, like you're pushing me too hard. When am I going to actually get out there and do real stuff? And then Superman's like, when you're ready. He's like, I'm never going to be ready because you don't want me to go out there. And they did the whole thing where after he had did one of the tests, Clark had shot him with some lasers out of nowhere that reminded me of like the Flash and Arrow thing. But, then he got mad and then he flies away. Superman chases after him, and then, he told his mom, he's like, Mom, Dad shot me with lasers. And then that's when Lois and Clark had their conversation about how he needs to be realistic. Nobody's telling him to give in. Nobody's telling him to concede, but he needs to be realistic on the chance that there's a possibility that, Lois can't be saved. And then that's when he agreed. He was like, yeah, he said, I am like, in my head. He was like, I was in my feelings over the counseling session. And then, the whole thing with you trying to get life insurance policies. And he's like, I took it out on Jordan. That wasn't cool. Let me go apologize to my son. And he apologized to Jordan. So then after that, him and Lois, like they talked, they squared things out. And then Lois was just like, yo, I'm going to fight this, but I just need you to like, just be there to support me and like hold it down for me. So then after Lois left to go do God knows what, then later on when Clark and Jordan were talking, they heard Lois's voice cry out for help. And then Superman immediately flew over to where he heard her voice. And when she said it, when you heard Lois's voice say like, Superman, like even me, I was like, wasn't that the same like audio from when she yelled for Superman when her and Chrissy were trapped in the building? And then when Superman showed up to where he thought Lois was, that's when Bruno Mannheim's wife showed up dressed in her, her attire. And then she showed up, and then her along with like 5 other people with kryptonite guns, they tried to kill Superman because he ran to an ambush, because he, like he said, he was so quick to want to save Lois because he was so afraid of what was going on. It didn't even occur to him that he could be walking into a trap. He walks into a trap. He's getting his ass beat. Lois walks into the house. Jordan's like, oh my God, Mom, I'm glad you're safe. And then she's like, why wouldn't I be? And then that's when he said, oh, we heard you screaming. And she's like, get your ass out there and go help your father immediately. So Jordan flies down there with his new Amelia Earhart costume on. He goes down there. He helps saves his dad. But while he was saving his dad, he got blasted with the kryptonite, and then Superman saw that and lost his shit, and then he blasted everybody. He actually punched Bruno Mannheim's wife and knocked her like 50 feet back, and then she escaped, and then he took Jordan and went back to the house. Come to find out, kryptonite does not affect Jordan the same way it does Clark, because Jordan isn't 100% Kryptonian. But now that we know that, now new things have to be put in play, because now they have to prepare for the fact that Jordan has different powers from his dad, and whether or not they can adjust and see where the whole thing goes. Lois is like, she's like, I'm going back to the hospital to see if I can investigate more on this Bruno Mannheim stuff. No black people in the episode. And like in our last 3 episodes, we had John Henry Irons and no Natalie. In the following episode, we had Natalie and no John Henry Irons. This episode, we don't have either one. Where the black people at? So then, regarding everyone else in Smallville, they did this whole story arc where Sophie's back because like she pops up like once every 4 episodes. Sophie's back. She's spending time with Sarah and her mom. They ended up dumping her off with the dad. The dad ditched her because he went to go holler at Chrissy. And then because Sarah had to study, she blew Sophie off, and then Sophie got upset and went wandering around the town. This whole entire thing about Sophie like feeling left out and walking around the town and getting lost for the whole family to freak out. The whole point of the entire story arc, when Lana found out that Sophie was missing, she went looking for Kyle, who dipped. When she found Kyle was at the grocery store hanging out with Chrissy, and that's how Lana found out that Kyle and Chrissy are a thing. That was the whole point of the Sophie storyline. Like, it wasn't even about the fact that the Kutch, are we still calling them Kutching or are they Cortez? Like I thought it was Cortez. The whole point of the Cortez storyline with everybody like ignoring Sophie was just so Lana can find out that Kyle and Chrissy are together. Kyle ended up, asking Chrissy to be his actual girlfriend because at the end of the day, who gives a shit what Lana thinks? Like, Lana and Kyle went through their thing. They had their marital spat. Something that came up a long time ago in their marriage had resurfaced. They could have went to counseling for it. They could have tried to work it out. Instead of trying to work out their marriage, Lana made the decision to divorce him. So because she made the decision to divorce him, he is now allowed to date whoever he wants. So she has no reason to be mad. And using Sophie as an excuse, like, oh, our daughter was lost because you were hanging out with Chris. Like, don't do that shit. like, don't do that. Like, because that's not even the situation. Jonathan, he was in the episode because he's working at the fire station and they got him doing all sorts of like mediocre, demeaning things. And in the end, they were teasing him the whole episode about calling him Rusty and not giving him like a real name. But then at the end, him along with Sarah, when they found Sophie, he was the one that actually brought Sophie back into the fold and made her feel better. And then because of that, Kyle, he apologized, and then they gave Jonathan an actual shirt that has Kent on the back of it. So that was it. Good episode of Superman and Lois, and thank you for tuning in. So here we go. Now, like I said, where the black people at? Because I need, first of all, let me just get this out of the way. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Kyle, Chrissy, and Lana have their whole thing because I need somebody to actually put Lana in her place and be like, well, if you don't want me dating the next chick, you shouldn't divorce me. I just want that conversation to take place. Like I said, it's nice to see Sophie back, but she was just a catalyst to serve her like another storyline. Jonathan needs something to do now that his girlfriend is gone, and I hope they find something for Jonathan to do other than just working at the firehouse. Sarah ain't got nothing to do since she broke up with Jordan, and I'm glad that the two of them aren't together, but the whole thing with Jordan and his dad, because Jordan's now he's going to be more part of like the superheroing, and then I'm actually looking forward to that. But but see, the thing is, because Bruno Mannheim's wife is the one that murdered this Earth's version of John Henry Irons, I need that conversation. I need Bruno Mannheim's wife. I need John Henry Irons and Natalie in a room together. Or hell, John Henry Irons, his sister. I need his sister in a room with Bruno Mannheim's wife, because if her being the superpower being that killed him, it's one thing if that was his wife and she was just working for him and they were a couple, they were in cahoots. But the fact that the woman has cancer and she's doing all this shit, I need someone to confront her based on all the evil things that she's done. Because Bruno Mannheim about to go crazy. But like I said before, when we find out that homeboy is their son, and then Lois tries to tell Natalie, stay away from him, and she's like, you're not my mama, that's going to be the moment. I'm still calling that. Like I said, thanks for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram, always on YouTube. Hit the notification bell, like and or subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this particular episode of Superman and Lois, and we will continue to talk about it. Titans is coming up this week. I would love to see what happens with Titans, how we follow up with the Dude Where Is My Gar episode, which I thought was awesome. And like I said, The Flash is about to come on, and we get in the final 5 episodes of The Flash, and we're bringing back that Oliver Queen, and I'm definitely here for that as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Also, check out the Tacos and Geek, the Hour podcast with myself, Sean, and Justin, where we talk about the Arrowverse and the ending of the Arrowverse. Link will be in the description below, and we'll continue to roll on with all the Superman goodness. So until next time, for more Superman and Lois action, take care, and as always, how about this? Beyond!